All right, welcome to another episode of Wild Sports. Doing a little different here today. Got my boy Sean over here with me. He came in town
I did.
for the weekend. So we
can touch him.
Yeah, we've been watching the draft, keeping up with that, playing a little golf. As you can see, Sean's got a little bit of a sunburn over here.
There you go.
Try and even that out this weekend. But a great week and weekend for NFL football. Interesting draft, a lot of good stuff to talk about. So we're going to jump into that. Go over a couple different things. I think we're going to start it out with maybe our winners and losers of the draft.
I'd say it's like first round. Maybe not the draft, but the first round.
Yeah, first round stuff. Names we all know. So
for the most part.
Yeah, most part. So as your winning teams for the draft, who you got?
My main winner is the Houston Texans, and it's kind of an easy pick considering they had picks 2 and traded in for pick 3. So, I mean, it's kind of an easy winner. They go get their quarterback of the future, what they think is going to be their quarterback of the future, and they go get their defensive end of the future. So, D'Amico Ryans just came in and said, I want to make a splash. Year 1, give me this guy for my offense, this guy for my defense. I mean, he's coming from San Fran to here. Let's see what he learned from Kyle. Let's see what he learned, his entire time with Kyle, and see what that turns out.
Yeah, I liked what Houston did. That's kind of what I was wishing the Falcons would do. It's something like that. Just sell out, jump in, go after, 2 of the best guys in the draft, a potential franchise quarterback along with a stud pass rush, which we know is a key position in the NFL. My winner, I kind of juggled between 2 teams, but I think the Eagles absolutely knocked it out of the park. Jalen Carter, I think that's a steal that he got, what was that, 9th? Kind of wouldn't have hated to see Atlanta take him there, but I'm shocked. That was somebody that was talked about being possibly the first overall pick until some off-field issues came into play. And then they also got Nolan Smith, both Bulldogs. We all know that the Eagles have loaded up on Georgia Bulldogs. I think they've about got the whole starting defense from that year. They took Alabama down in the national championship. So I love that. I think, Nolan Smith, another guy that just could be an absolute freak in the NFL. And to get him at 30, another stud pass rush, but really a Swiss Army knife, can play probably a little bit of inside, can do some pass rush, can do it all, a 4-3 guy. A lot of value in a pick like that at 30. So I think the Eagles really knocked it out of the park with the draft.
Yeah, I also had like a viewers winner, and the viewers were the winners solely because there were so many trades.
Yeah.
Trades, I just mentioned the Texans one. There was a trade to get to the first pick. It didn't happen the night of, but it builds the anticipation, it builds the excitement. Outside of the first round, there was the most trades. Excuse me, there's most trades of any draft in history. So the viewers were definitely the winners of this first round and draft overall, honestly.
Yeah. It was definitely interesting. And another team I want to mention was the Seahawks. I think they did great. They got Witherspoon, defensive back out of Illinois.
Mm-hmm. Someone I thought was the best corner in the draft, honestly.
Yeah, they did great there. And then they went and got JSN, wide receiver out of Ohio State at the 20th pick. Another guy that I think holds a lot of value getting him at 20. Can come into that offense and step right in immediately and make a difference. They just signed Geno Smith to the long-term deal, give him some help. I think they really did really well in the first round too.
So we've talked about the winners. Who is your loser of the first round?
Okay, so in short term, I'm going Miami Dolphins. only because they had 4 picks in the entire draft. and they didn't have a first rounder that they lost for tampering, whatever, with the Tom Brady thing, whatever that was. So they didn't have a first round pick, they didn't have a fourth round or a fifth round pick. So they got a second, third, sixth, and seventh. So, I think that automatically kind of makes you a loser. But other than that, that's the quick one. My other loser is I'm going to go with the New England Patriots.
What's funny? I think I picked the Patriots last year.
Really?
I think I picked the Patriots last year because they took Cole Strange out of Chattanooga.
Right.
And then, I'm going to let you finish, obviously, but that's so funny that you said Patriots for this year.
It just, it's typical Bill Belichick. They went, stacked up on defense, which I know is fine, but I looked up, and in their defense in 2022 was top 10 in yards and points. They had the second most takeaways, and they had the most non-offensive touchdowns in the 2022 season. And they did not get a skill position player until the third round. And we were talking about it actually earlier in the draft. Obviously me being a big Mac Jones fan, you got to give the guy some help. And they don't go get somebody until the third round, and they get your boy Booty.
Kayshon Boutte.
From LSU, which, he's a great football player, but it's you got to we were looking at their wide receivers, and they've brought in some guys, but it's just, no big name guys. You've got to have some skill players. So, to me, I think they took a kicker in the fourth.
Even if it's a tight end, too.
Yeah.
We're not saying it had to be JSN or Quentin Johnston or anything.
Right. But, you got to go after your needs, and obviously defense – they didn't lose really anything from their defense, and your top 10, that's great, but where did the New England Patriots struggle last year? It was offense. So I would just have liked to seen them go after some skill players and give some help on the offensive side. But those are my losers. Who you guys' losers?
I've got the Chicago Bears.
Okay.
I'm not saying that the tackle from Tennessee, I think his name's Darnell Wright, is going to be a bust, is going to be bad, or anything along those lines. The reason I have the Bears is because going into it, most experts were saying that they were going to go get Bijan Robinson or one of the receivers that were taken later in that round. Obviously, they didn't have the ability to get Bijan because he was picked before him, but they had their selection of wide receivers and or tight ends to choose from, and they went with a tackle. I know they just got DJ Moore in the trade for the first pick, so they got a weapon. But outside of that, Mooney, he's okay. I'm not saying he's bad. He didn't have the season everyone hoped he'd have as a number one guy. Now he's got DJ Moore, so maybe he has a better season. But I think I'm making them my loser because I think they could have and should have gone and gotten whichever receiver they found the best. Again, Darnell Wright, whatever his name is, Darnell Wright, I'm pretty sure. Darnell Wright. He could be a stud. I just think they could have gotten a weapon for Fields, especially since he was so dependent on his running and mobility so late into last year.
Yeah.
Another hot topic I'd love to touch is some of your best picks outside of the top five, because obviously top five is going to be the elite.
That's right.
So outside of your top five, who do you think was best pick or picks if you have multiple?
I touched on Jalen Carter earlier. I think that's an absolute steal at 9. But I went, I talked about it in our first episode, is Christian Gonzalez. The fact that he slipped, and here I go talking about the Patriots. He slipped to 17. Not necessarily saying, I love that the Patriots went with that, but
You like where he was picked.
Exactly.
For the value.
Exactly. The value of it. I was sitting there talking about how I wouldn't be upset if the Falcons took him at 8, and he slipped to 17. And I think there was at least 2 that went in front of, at least 2 cornerbacks. I know Witherspoon.
So I know Witherspoon was the 5th.
And the guy out of Mississippi State, I think.
Let's see. Mississippi State. And then Christian was right after him.
So, I think the fact that he slipped to 17.
Yeah, I definitely think there was like a consensus about those 2 being 1 and 2 easy.
Yeah.
So when we saw Forbes come off the board ahead of Christian, I know for sure I was shocked.
Yeah, for sure. But so I think getting him at 17, and especially a cornerback. I mean, every position's important, but you see when you can get a lockdown corner in the NFL, what a huge advantage that is. So if you can get one at 17, I think that's and I'm high on him. He was my favorite cornerback coming out. So that's my non-top 5 best pick there.
So mine's a little different. The reason I said pick or picks is because mine's a grouping.
Okay.
I have the top non-top 5. I just said like so many different words there. Was the 4 consecutive receivers taken? We had just a string of them come off the board. Whether it was like a need for the team or just a want for the team. For example, the first one came off the board was JSN to Seattle. They've already got Lockett and DK.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a need. That's a want. You just signed a veteran QB on the older side. Not too old, but he's on the older side. So that was a want. Let's go get this guy an extra weapon and let's compete because you got a stud running back that you drafted last year. So let's go compete, put points on the board, and kind of let our crowd win us some defensive games. The next one was Quentin Johnston. Again, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. That was a want. Got a young quarterback. Let's throw as many. They got to keep up with the Chiefs. Is what's circling in their head. Zay Flowers, Baltimore Ravens. First off, I was kind of shocked he went as high as he did. I'm not. I thought he was gonna be late first round, early second. I'd say I think that was a need, even with the signing of Odell. I think that was a need. Show the guy you just signed that you're there for him.
Did I hear that Antonio Brown's going to Baltimore?
Oh, he was trolling.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a.
Okay. All right.
He is turning
I just
into
had to throw that
an
out
absolute
there. I
head
was just
case.
interested to know. I didn't know if that was true or not.
And then finally, Jordan Addison went to the Vikings. I couldn't believe he was the last one out of these 4 taken. Personally, I know he's a little, I was going to say on the smaller side, but Zay Flowers is tiny.
Yeah.
Thielen went to the Panthers, so they're kind of just, plug in. We lose Thielen, we grab and put other receiver here. It keeps Jefferson better. It'll open up Addison. I mean, it's a good fit, and I do think that was a need as well. So, I mean, that's my top 5, or Jesus. My non-top 5 best picks
There you
were
go.
those 4 right there.
You got it out clean there at the end.
I did, at the end there. So, I don't know if any of our listeners are big on fantasy football. I would assume
2022 fantasy champ here.
it's pretty big. It's pretty big. Yeah, Pussy League. So, I say we touch on some fantasy impacts for the draft selections. Is there anyone you want to start with? How about you start with your boy?
Yeah,
Start with your boy.
he's on my list. Bryce, that boy. I've got. Are you talking about Bryce?
Which other boy
Okay.
are you talking about? Oh,
Okay,
that one.
Yeah. Okay, I've got a couple of them. There was a couple of them.
Start with Bryce.
Okay, Bryce. Look, rookie quarterbacks in fantasy football are tough. You want to think Bryce and CJ and these guys are going to come out here and throw for 4,500 yards and all these touchdowns, and I think it's hard for them to do that. I mean, that's a big transition. to the NFL, and being the fantasy champion that I am, and you were in my league. Yes, he was in my league, so he lost to me. I'm not touching rookie quarterbacks in fantasy leagues. I think they're good to have on the bench, for the possibility. But as far as like selling out on one, there's too many good ones in the NFL. I'd love to see Bryce go out and tear it up, but
Bryce starts right away.
yes,
I agree.
I think Bryce starts right away.
Trying to think. Winning record?
Ooh,
Really bad division.
yeah, tough division. I don't see them being a like a 4-win team, but I could see close to 500, maybe a couple games under 500.
Okay.
I'm gonna say a couple games under 500.
All right. Since you started with Young, I'll start with Stroud.
Okay.
I think he got taken to the right place. Right after Bryce, I think these were always 1-2.
Yeah.
I think the media tried to spin it the other way. I think Reddit tried to spin Will Levis into the 2-hole. But I think CJ Stroud went to the right place. I think he starts right away. I think that he has some decent success. I'd love to know who D'Amico has calling plays down there.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I want to say he took someone from the staff with him
I'm not sure.
from San Fran. But anyway, got a great running back who kind of tailed off at the end of last year. Got a decent running back. Let's fix that. Got a decent running
Pierce?
back. Dameon Pierce.
Yeah.
He came out guns blazing last year.
Yeah, he was on my
and
fantasy
really
team.
just went that way.
He was on my team.
Yeah, that's why he went that way. And Mechie comes back this year, one of your boys. You know what I mean?
Hey, way to battle out leukemia.
You know I'm a huge Mechie
Hey,
guy.
way to battle out leukemia, man. What a great story.
And, they went and got some weapons later in the draft as well for Stroud. So I'm excited to see what he does. I think that he puts up the best numbers in this class.
What?
First year.
Wow. See, I disagree with that. I think there's a chance he doesn't start.
Over
Davis
Mills?
Mills.
You think Mills will?
I'm not going to say he's
So
just.
before we do it, are you a component of, even with how high they're drafted, sit before playing?
Given the right if you've got like a guy like Davis Mills, who's, obviously Houston's not expecting, I don't think, to come out and just like jolt up to the top of the league. I think it just depends what he does when he comes in. I'm not a big component of you took him second, so he has to start. It's an investment. I don't
I
think.
think more teams need to look at it like that.
Right. I don't think, if he comes in practice and he's just got that warrior mentality and he's, and he's comprehending it and you see it in practice and it translates in some preseason stuff, then, maybe I think you make that decision, but I'm not in a rush to start. I just think Carolina's in a rough spot, so Bryce is going to be starting. But, with Davis, a guy that's young, that they were super high on at the beginning of last year, and I know he hasn't panned out, but I don't think you just have to throw the guy directly into the mix immediately. Unless it's just like,
No, I hear you.
a situation like, Carolina, or even if we're going to touch on him, Anthony Richardson. We were looking at the Colts, who they've got. But, if you've got a vet guy in there that somebody can kind of help him and you ease him into it, I'm more interested in protecting your investment than, hey, let's roll the die. Let's sling it.
I think a fun fact is that we could literally see 3 rookie QBs from this draft, obviously from this draft are the rookies, starting in the AFC South this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one is only, 3? This is his 3rd season?
Yeah.
Trevor?
Yeah.
So, if 2 of these 3 from this draft hit, that's going to be a fun division to watch, honestly.
Absolutely.
Who else you got for some fantasy impact?
All right, so I kind of went a combo here. The running back position, obviously. I think these are interesting spots. Is Bijan
Of course,
and,
yeah. Hometown.
and Gibbs. this kind of goes back to the original argument that we talked about that kind of took my hot take was, I had Gibbs, I think fantasy-wise, especially now with what Detroit's done to move some of those guys out of there. With another Georgia Bulldog moving, DeAndre Swift going to the Eagles. I think there's a lot of value in him. Not the greatest team in the world to be on, but
they were a good offense last year. They put up a lot of points.
And then Bijan, Gibbs, good. He can run, he can catch. A lot of fantasy, especially if you're in a PPR league. I think there's even more value there. Hootie makes his.
It's our mascot.
There he goes again. But Bijan in Atlanta, I love it. I think that system that he's in, I think they're going to be interested in running the ball. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Algier and him. Are they going to split it? Are they going to ease Bijan into it? Because you're investing in this guy, so you don't want to run the treads off the tires,
right,
while you're still kind of in a rebuilding phase.
I think it's gonna be like a 70-30 split. Bijan,
yeah. I can see it. You just don't want to wear the tires out on him early.
You have to think it was like the Derrick Henry and his backup for a while.
Yeah, good.
Not saying this that I think Bijan's gonna be Derrick Henry.
Yeah, but still, I see. He's fast. He's got that breakaway potential, and he's strong. So goal line, there's those. I think there's some touchdown opportunities, and with the quarterback that's, just getting his first chance at it with Ritter. I think they can still rely on the run a good bit. So I like Bijan and Gibbs. So that's going to be our battle out.
He's trying to fight this bone away from me.
So we'll see if my hot take takes.
It's quite literally.
It's going to be interesting.
A direct.
What's your buddy's name? Terry?
Yes.
Terry? We're going to find out. That's all you talking smack about me in the comments. We're going to find out.
So just so I don't double up on what I talked about with the non-top 5 best picks, I'm going to take Dalton Kincaid out of Buffalo. I think it's interesting because, I think he's going to have a great year with Josh Allen. He's going to be a great blocker for him too, first off. But I think he's going to be like a early Dawson Knox 2.0. I was kind of surprised by that, actually. Honestly, that pick. I really was.
Yeah.
But since he's there, I do think he's going to have a pretty good impact for that offense. Again, it's just another AFC team adding more offense to try and keep up with the points that Kansas City keeps, no matter what they lose, keeps putting up.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. I had like an interesting thought. Oh my God.
Hootie. This dog. Here you go.
That was gross. All right. We're going to kind of do the same thing, fantasy impact, but it's for the current players on teams and how it either helps or negates the points they get throughout the season. Do you have like a big one?
I've got an interesting one.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, so I'm going with hitting on your run of receivers here. I got Quentin Johnson and how that affects the Chargers. I think Herbert, it helps. It just gives him another weapon, another guy to throw to. Big target, big red zone guy, and I'm interested to see what that does with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen.
I wonder, even when they drafted, I was wondering, are they doing this because of how injury-prone Williams and Allen are? Because they have Josh Palmer, too.
Yeah, and he's a smart guy. But, and Quentin, we talked about him in the first episode, he's a big guy, and that's what the Chargers like. So, I guess you can have all three of them on the field at the same time, but what does that do with splitting catches? Is it I think part what you're talking about, the injuries. It seems like Mike and Keenan are constantly hurt.
Keenan's on his way out too.
Yeah, and Keenan's getting a little older, and so I think it's interesting to see how much does that help Herbert, and how much does that affect Williams, and Keenan. So I think it's kind of 3 people that or 4 if you count Quentin.
Yeah, it'll affect the others' numbers, and it'll affect positively the QB's numbers.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to those receivers again.
Okay.
Jordan Addison. I think when Thielen decided to go to Carolina, Jefferson's numbers. I'm not gonna say we're gonna take a hit because he's gonna Jefferson.
Yeah.
But I think adding Addison really assisted the fact that he's got another weapon out there to help take some attention off of him again.
Yeah.
Either that or he's going to win Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
So if they double Jefferson the entire time, he might just win Rookie of the Year outright and hopefully not give it to a quarterback just because he's a quarterback.
I'm okay with it. As long as it's Bryce.
I mean, outside of that, there's a lot of defensive guys drafted, so it's hard to talk fantasy impact for defense.
Yeah.
And also offensive line. I mean, that's what the first round is. First round is trenches, and then a sprinkle of some exciting skill players.
Yep.
Were there any other items you wanted to touch up on?
Let's. I think we've got to talk about this. Not necessarily person that went in the first round, but Levis.
What a girlfriend.
Yeah. Which one? It seemed like there was like 6.
Yeah, he was the Hugh Hefner of the NFL first round.
Yeah, there was like a lot of different girls rolling in there.
What was that announcer that went nuts for AJ McCarron's?
Brent Musburger.
Yeah, I thought Musburger was on the NFL draft round 1 coverage.
So, other than that, though, I mean, I think we talked about it. I think it's in the first episode. I think Levis slipping to the second round does not shock me at all. I mean, I guess just because of the media coverage he got and how everybody was talking about he was going to go, top 10 pick, and they were putting it on the thing that there was a 0.1% chance that he would have not, been drafted by 26th or whatever. But I don't like Levis. I mean, as a football player, I'm just, again, it doesn't shock me that he slipped to 22nd. I mean, good for the Titans because they were talking about people taking him in the first round and they got him second. But, I mean, were you shocked by the Levis situation?
I was shocked. I'm not saying he's an absolute stud. I just don't see how you go from a projected top 8 pick to the first or the second pick of the second round. I didn't see it. I don't see how that happens. I mean, even when Rodgers fell X amount of years ago, he still went in the first.
Yeah.
There was literally, odds makers and on websites that had him the favorite to be the number 2 pick. And, I mean, it's just – I don't see how you go from being the favorite – at one point, the favorite to go first. Another point, favorite – a week before the draft, a favorite to go second. And hello, Hootie. And then you're drafted in the second round from your home because you did not want to come back.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We saw that story where it was like supposedly they're hyping him up just to get coverage on it, to juice it up, and where Reddit again made it somehow the Vegas odds went from him being the first overall pick from like plus 4,000 to plus 400 like the day before the draft, which is a crazy amount of numbers. So like for him to not even be the first round after that, I mean, I don't get why Levis was. I don't get it. But. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see how he ends up panning out. I mean, he's got a chance. I mean, Tannehill's kind of, I think, on his way out as well.
He's like 35 years old.
And then he's got Malik Willis, so you got a little competition there, who I guess they didn't have a whole lot of faith in. But, again, a young kid that you can't expect to be an NFL stud. Not everybody can be Patrick Mahomes. Their first year. So we'll see. That's an interesting one.
I got one final question before we get out of here.
All right. Let's hear it.
So we had the Dolphins.
Yep.
Who forfeited their first round pick.
Yep.
The Browns, Broncos, Rams, and Niners.
Okay.
None of them picked in the first round.
Oh, wow.
Did they make a mistake by not coming into the first round, whether it be top 10 or the bottom 10 or in the between, whatever? Did any of those teams make a mistake by passing up on someone?
So you had
We had Browns,
Browns.
Broncos, Rams, Niners, and then the Dolphins forfeited their pick. I'm sure they could have traded back in if they wanted to.
Well, they didn't have
but-
anything to trade.
Well, yeah, I know that. Yeah. Well, I don't think the Rams did either from the Ramsey deal way back when.
Ooh, I don't know. I mean,
It's tough to say because you'd have to literally go and think about
yeah, I mean,
what they need and what they have.
I was gonna say the Browns because they're. I don't know. They're not bad, but who they're gonna go get? Yeah, I guess I just don't really know the need of them to really go after someone. I don't. Do you have someone in mind?
I was gonna say with like the Broncos wide receiver health, Sutton always
Yeah.
being hurt. Judy got hurt last year. You could always try to get a weapon for Russell Wilson, considering he looked like garbage last year.
Yeah.
Outside of that,
There he is.
hello mascot. That's our boy. Do you have anything else?
No, I think that's pretty it.
Heck of a first round.
Yeah,
I will
I
say
enjoyed
it.
it.
It was really fun. It was
It
good.
lived up to the hype. I enjoyed it. And I can't wait to see what, you got possible new faces of franchisees, quarterbacks. We've got guys that we grew up watching, like the Brady, Breeze, Rivers, Matt Ryan. You got all these guys that did really well throughout their Ben Roethlisberger. There's, a bunch of them. And now you've got these new guys that are, the Allens and everybody. So it's like, who's going to be the next one? Is Price going to do it? Is CJ going to do it? Levis, Anthony Richardson. That's a guy I can't wait to see what pans
Honestly.
out. I think he's just.
Is he going to be Jamarcus Russell or Patty Mahomes?
Yeah, what's he going to do? So I'm excited to see. There's a lot of guys in this draft that I can't wait to see how it works out. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Let us know what y'all think. Did your team go get the guy you wanted? Who should they have gotten? What did you think that was the biggest steal? Let us know, man. We love reading about it.
Yeah, hit the comments, hit that like button, subscribe, comment, let us know. We're going to be trying some different stuff, but we appreciate y'all watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.